I believe our policy is the correct one. It's based on the courage of President Bazoum, on the efforts of our diplomats and our ambassador in Niger, who will stay despite pressure from coup leaders. We do not recognise them. We support the president, who's not resigned.
Il n'a pas démissionné.
While France was never ready to leave Niger, Niger threw France out. But why did they do it? Well, thanks to the French habit of interfering in African nations, have led Niger to take such actions. Western nations think it is easy to control Africa and do whatever with it. But Niger taught France a lesson, and now they are scared to wish for dominance in Africa again. But did France do something that is still hidden, which sparked just a response from Niger? Let's find out. What led to the closure of the French embassy in Niger? Recently, the French embassy in Niger closed. This recent closure of the French embassy in Niger has sent ripples through the diplomatic sphere, raising questions about the factors that led to such a drastic measure. This move represents a critical juncture in diplomatic relations between France and Niger, with the decision to shutter the embassy rooted in a series of events that significantly impeded its operations. Delving into the reasons behind this closure reveals challenges that violated diplomatic norms and clashed with the principles enshrined in the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Let's understand the situation a little better. The official statement declaring the closure pointed to grave impediments on the embassy's missions. These obstacles were complex, encompassing a blockade, restrictions on the movement of embassy staff, and an entry ban imposed on diplomatic personnel traveling to Niger. Such challenges were not mere inconveniences. They were viewed as clear violations of established diplomatic norms, making it increasingly difficult for the embassy to carry out its functions effectively. One of the primary factors leading to the closure was the imposition of a blockade that hampered the embassy's day-to-day operations. The blockade restricted embassy personnel's movement and disrupted the regular flow of diplomatic activities. This coercive measure amounted to a significant breach of the Vienna Convention, emphasizing the need for unimpeded access to and from the embassy premises. In addition to the blocking, the French embassy faced restrictions on the movement of its staff within the host country. Diplomatic personnel were subjected to limitations that hindered their ability to engage in routine diplomatic functions, such as meeting with local officials, conducting outreach programs, and participating in cultural exchange activities. Such restrictions undermined the essence of diplomatic relations and violated the principles of reciprocity that form the foundation of international diplomacy. Perhaps the most severe limitation faced by the French embassy was the entry ban imposed on diplomatic personnel traveling to Niger. This ban disrupted the embassy's ability to replenish staff and created a hostile environment that contradicted the spirit of diplomatic engagement. The entry ban, a clear violation of the Vienna Convention, highlighted the deteriorating state of diplomatic relations between France and Niger. The closure of the French embassy in Niger was not a decision taken lightly. Still, it was prompted by the inability to navigate the challenges imposed, directly contradicting the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Passed in 1961, the convention serves as the cornerstone of diplomatic immunity and protocol, outlining the rights and responsibilities of both the sending and receiving states. The Vienna Convention emphasizes the importance of unimpeded communication between the embassy and its home country, ensuring that diplomatic personnel can perform their functions without hindrance. The blockade, restrictions on movement, and entry ban imposed on the French embassy in Niger were clear violations of these principles, leaving France with little choice but to close its diplomatic mission in the face of such untenable circumstances. Closing an embassy is a rare and serious step, often taken as a last resort when diplomatic relations reach an impasse. Based on mutual respect and understanding, diplomatic norms form the bedrock of international relations. The treatment of foreign diplomats sets a precedent for how a country expects its representatives to be treated abroad. The impediments faced by the French embassy in Niger not only breached diplomatic norms but also undermined the concept of reciprocity, which is integral to fostering amicable relations between nations. So, how will consular activities be managed after the closure? The closure of the French embassy in Niger has triggered a shift in consular activities, prompting the French government to adopt a strategic approach to ensure the continuity of services for its nationals in the region. While the physical closure presents logistical challenges, a commitment to maintaining ties with French nationals and collaborating with humanitarian non-governmental organizations and NGOs highlights the resilience of diplomatic efforts. With the embassy closure, consular activities will transition, redirecting services to French consulates in the region. This redirection is a pragmatic response to the challenges posed by the closure and demonstrates the French government's commitment to serving its nationals in Niger, despite the diplomatic setback. While physical closure may present hurdles, redirecting consular affairs to established consulates ensures that essential services continue to be provided. The closure of an embassy inevitably brings about logistical challenges, particularly concerning the physical absence of on-site consular services. However, the French government has adopted a strategic and efficient response to mitigate these challenges. By redirecting consular activities to existing consulates in the region, the government aims to maintain service continuity, reflecting a commitment to the welfare of its nationals. Ensuring the well-being of French nationals in Niger remains a top priority for the French government, even in the aftermath of the embassy closure. Consular services, including assistance for French citizens, distribution of visas, and other support functions, will be seamlessly managed through consulats. The redirection of these activities signifies a concerted effort to provide uninterrupted services and uphold the obligations towards French nationals residing in Niger. Beyond serving its nationals, France has established collaborations with humanitarian non-governmental organizations and NGOs operating in Niger. These partnerships contribute to various initiatives to foster development, provide aid, and address pressing issues within the country. Despite the closure of the embassy, the French government is committed to sustaining these collaborations, emphasizing its dedication to humanitarian efforts in Niger. The closure of the embassy does not signify a severance of ties between the French government and its nationals in Niger. Efforts will be made to maintain communication channels and provide support through consulates. The diplomatic shift does not diminish the commitment to the French community in Niger, and measures will be in place to address their needs and concerns promptly. Recognizing the impact of the closure on consular activities, the French government has devised measures to shift certain diplomatic operations to Paris. While this move reflects a centralized approach, essential functions, coordination, and decision-making processes remain intact. Shifting diplomatic operations to the capital serves as a strategic response to navigate the challenges posed by the closure of the embassy in Niger. But why is France dying to keep its embassy in Niger? Is it just worried about its people? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video, and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. This is what the French officials can't answer. They lack words when talking about what happened between Niger and France, but understanding the history will help.
We simply don't know yet what will happen in Niger, and we're preparing for the alternative option.
The roots of this complex relationship can be traced back to the late 19th century, when Niger fell under French colonial rule in 1898. The ensuing decades of colonial influence have significantly shaped the dynamics of the post-independence connection between France and Niger, casting a profound impact on diplomatic interactions. The history of France-Niger relations begins with the late 19th century expansion of European colonial powers in Africa. In 1898, Niger, then a vast and diverse territory, became part of French West Africa under the colonial administration. This marked the onset of over 6 decades of French colonial rule, during which Niger's resources and people were subject to the interests and policies of the colonial power. The enduring legacy of French colonialism left an indelible mark on Niger, shaping its political, social, and economic landscape. French influence manifested in various aspects of Nigerian society, from administrative structures to cultural practices. Despite the challenges, this period also witnessed infrastructural developments and the introduction of formal education. The turning point in France-Niger relations came in 1960, when Niger gained independence. The struggle for self-determination marked a pivotal moment, setting the stage for the evolution of a sovereign Niger. However, the legacy of colonialism lingered, influencing the early years of the post-independence era. The post-independence relationship between France and Niger was characterized by a delicate interplay of sovereignty and historical ties. As Niger controlled the challenges of nation-building, France maintained a significant role in the economic, political, and cultural spheres. Bilateral agreements were forged, reflecting the enduring connections established during the colonial period. Economic cooperation emerged as a cornerstone of France-Niger relations in the post-independence era. France played a role in supporting Nigeria's economic development through aid, investment, and trade agreements. These collaborations, while contributing to the growth of the Nigerian economy, also highlighted the intertwined nature of their interests. Over the years, the relationship faced diplomatic challenges, mirroring shifts in global politics and regional dynamics. Disagreements and negotiations characterized the diplomatic landscape as both nations sought to assert their interests while maintaining a semblance of cooperation. The closure of the French embassy in Niger represents a contemporary chapter in the historical narrative of these relations. The decision to close the embassy is rooted in a series of events that have strained the diplomatic ties between the two nations. The historical backdrop of colonialism and post-independence cooperation complicates the diplomatic developments. What is the current status of bilateral ties between France and Niger? In the post-independence era, the relationship between France and Niger has evolved into an interdependence that transcends traditional diplomatic ties. France continues to wield influence in Niger's affairs, retaining a substantial presence through advisors embedded within the Nigerian government and military. The ongoing connections are exemplified by the retention of the French language as the official language of Niger, symbolizing the deep-rooted cultural, economic, and defense cooperation between these two nations. The historical ties forged during the colonial period have left an indelible mark on the current status of bilateral ties between France and Niger. In the post-independence landscape, France has sustained a notable role in Niger's affairs, with advisors strategically placed within various levels of the Nigerian government and military. But very recently, things have changed. What are the areas of tension and criticism in the France-Niger relationship? What has led Niger to oppose France? While historical ties and ongoing cooperation highlight the France-Niger relationship, it is not immune to tensions and criticisms. Disputes have surfaced in various domains, including trade relations, military presence, and political influence. These areas of contention shed light on the intricate dynamics of the post-colonial relationship, revealing the challenges of balancing mutual interests, national sovereignty, and the legacy of historical ties. Trade relations between France and Niger have been a source of tension, with criticism centered around issues of fairness and economic dependency. Some argue that the economic ties between the two nations perpetuate an unequal relationship, where Niger is viewed as economically subservient to France. Debates about trade agreements, resource exploitation, and economic disparities highlight the challenges of fostering a balanced and mutually beneficial economic partnership. The presence of French military forces in Niger has been a point of contention, stirring debates about sovereignty and the extent of foreign influence. While defense collaborations exist, the nature and scope of French military involvement have faced criticism. Some argue that it infringes on Niger's sovereignty and raises questions about the long-term implications of foreign military presence on the nation's security dynamics. Political influence is another area where tensions have arisen in the France-Niger relationship. Critics contend that historical ties and ongoing cooperation may lead to undue influence on Nigerian politics by France. This concern raises questions about the autonomy of Niger's political decisions and the impact of external factors on its domestic affairs. Striking a balance between cooperation and ensuring sovereign decision-making remains a delicate challenge. Diplomatic disputes have surfaced, reflecting the complexities of navigating global politics. Differences in approaches to regional issues, divergent foreign policy priorities, and occasional disagreements on international platforms contribute to diplomatic tensions. Managing these disputes requires understanding each nation's strategic objectives and a commitment to finding common ground amid differing perspectives. the historical residue of colonialism casts a shadow over the relationship, influencing contemporary dynamics. While efforts have been made to move beyond the legacies of the past, historical grievances and disparities still contribute to tensions. Addressing these historical residues requires a mutual commitment to understanding, acknowledging, and rectifying imbalances that may persist in the relationship. And how exactly Niger made France leave Niger forever? The closure of the French embassy in Niger, a recent development in diplomatic relations, is closely intertwined with the aftermath of a military coup that unfolded within the country. This event has significantly strained relations between France and Niger, introducing a new layer of complexity to an already complicated relationship. The uncertainties stemming from the political instability following the coup have likely prompted a re-evaluation of diplomatic strategies and priorities, ultimately culminating in the closure as a response to the evolving situation.
I, Massoudou Hassoumi, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation, and Interim Prime Minister, authorized the French partner to carry out strikes within the presidential palace in order to free the President of the Republic of Niger.
The recent military coup in Niger has been a pivotal event shaping the diplomatic landscape between the two nations. The sudden shift in political power and the ensuing instability have cast a shadow over the bilateral relationship. Military coups inherently disrupt political order, leading to uncertainties and challenges that resonate not only domestically, but also in international relations. The military coup and the subsequent political instability have worsened tensions between France and Niger. Such events often prompt nations to reassess their diplomatic engagements, considering the implications of the new political dynamics. The closure of the French embassy can be seen as a response to the challenges presented by the military coup, reflecting a decision to recalibrate diplomatic strategies amid the evolving situation. The closure of an embassy is a significant diplomatic move that signals a reassessment of priorities and strategies. In the wake of the military coup, France likely found it necessary to reconsider its approach to diplomatic relations with Niger. The uncertainties surrounding the political landscape, potential shifts in alliances, and the need to prioritize the safety and security of diplomatic personnel have contributed to the decision to close the embassy. The aftermath of a military coup introduces many complexities that can strain bilateral relations. Questions surrounding the legitimacy of the new government, potential changes in policy directions, and uncertainties about the future political stability all factor into the diplomatic calculus. In such circumstances, nations must navigate a delicate balance between respecting the host country's sovereignty and safeguarding their interests and values. Diplomatic responses to evolving situations are crucial for managing relationships in times of uncertainty. The closure of the French embassy in Niger reflects a diplomatic response to the challenges posed by the military coup and the ensuing political instability. Recent events, such as the closure of the French embassy in Niger, highlight a broader shift in the dynamics of foreign relations between African nations and Western powers. The sentiment across the continent, including Niger, reflects a persistent unwillingness to cede control to Western nations, be it France or the United States. This assertion of independence marks a significant departure from historical narratives, where Western powers often declared their constant presence. The experiences of African nations, challenging and making it difficult for foreign powers, showcase a determination to shape their destinies on their terms. Historically, Western nations, including France and the United States, have asserted their influence in African affairs. Declarations of perpetual presence, as exemplified by France's vow never to leave Niger, were once echoed by various Western powers across the continent. However, the narratives have evolved, and African nations are proving that they are not willing to concede control. Through their actions and diplomatic strategies, African nations are making it clear that they will not accept external control. The difficulties posed by Western nations, as seen in the case of France and Niger, are indicative of the challenges faced when African nations assert their independence. The once confident declarations of infinity and foreign presence are being met with resistance and demand for mutual respect and equal partnership. the closure of the French embassy in Niger serves as a poignant example of the changing tide. France, a former colonial power, faced challenges and complexities in its relationship with Niger, ultimately leading to the closure of its embassy. This move reflects the unique circumstances surrounding the closure and the broader sentiment of African nations demanding respect for their sovereignty and autonomy. Similar sentiments have been expressed in relations with the United States and other Western powers. African nations, having witnessed the struggles of their counterparts, are keen on asserting their independence in diplomatic engagements. The narratives of foreign powers proclaiming enduring presence are now met with skepticism, prompting African nations to redefine the terms of their engagements. African nations are reclaiming agency and asserting their sovereignty in shaping their destinies. The struggles faced by Western nations in maintaining a foothold demonstrate that the narrative of perpetual control is increasingly incompatible with the aspirations of African countries. The emphasis is on fostering partnerships built on mutual respect, shared benefits, and recognizing each nation's right to determine its path. Do you think Niger's decision to throw France out was right? Are the African nations now that vulnerable that the West can do anything with them? Why did they even try their luck? Let us know in the comment section if maintaining influence on Africa without respecting their sovereignty is possible now. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.